What's up, guys? So today I wanted to shine a little bit of a light onto the recent LCK champion. Of course, we are talking about one member of the Gen G team, and today we're going to have a look at Pace. Now, Pace is a very new player, so a lot of the people don't really know who he is, what he does, and he is a Challengers Korea player. I think, yeah, this split was his first split where he got ported over from the Gen G Challengers over to the main roster, playing together with Delight in the bottom lane. And he had, in Challengers, he was known as one of the people that potentially could make it out and were very good. Was known to be solid, but from what I understand, I've watched a couple of Challengers and I've never heard him being especially mentioned. People say he is like a good Challengers player, right? And they were talking about him like here and there, but it was never like, okay, he's this superstar, he's gonna tear up the Korean scene once he jumps over and so on. And then he jumped over. And it is a little bit of a slow kicking season for them. In the beginning, Gen G looked very unstable, very weird, but they managed to get themselves together. Of course, Spring Split always is kind of the season where most teams have to regroup and figure out their differences and figure out how they want to play. This is something that T1 didn't have to do, which is one of the reasons why they were looking so dominant over on that server. But yeah, with that said, we're gonna jump into the replay right now and we will watch him play one of the current high priority picks. It is going to be the Zeri, together with the Rakan, something that you will see a lot if you look at the Gen G games as well. As Delight, absolutely amazing Rakan player. And so, of course, we would see that. Not sure who Zhao Huasheng is, but I swear I know. I should know who that is. I think that was the was another pro. Let me see real quick. Xiao Husheng. Yeah, that is Peanut, actually. That is the Gen G jungler Peanut. So, even better. I wasn't 100% sure, but yeah, that is Peanut. So Peanut, of course, I think you people know him. Old legend from back from the KT. I think it was the KT Roadster days. A big rivalry with SK Telecom. He was basically the carry, then ended up joining SK Telecom. Didn't really find his stride there, as he obviously had to live next to a Faker, and of course, you know, wasn't quite considered that superstar person, but then ended up recovering and, you know, doing a solid job in the last couple of years, but never looking amazing. And switched his identity from more carry-oriented stuff. So here, Pace is gonna activate that Ghost in order to get the EXP here. Very interesting decision, but, you know, if you have it, why not use it? Bonus XP does go a long way. He will be facing off against a Draven here, which is a ridiculously hard lane for Zeri. Can be very hard for Zeri to trade back against the Draven. Of course, that means that he's still going to take his shots whenever Draven positions himself in a way where he can hit his Qs. He's still gonna take it, but you don't really want to trade versus Draven, which means he's gonna be looking at the animations a lot. Here, now, the bait coming out, as Peanut, of course, trying to help his teammate out, but unfortunately, Viego is there as well, as now Viego will be looking here for the Rakan. It is a flash, but Draven gets to cash in, and that means that already the Draven now is accelerated, and it is not looking good. So, yeah, I would say Pei's definitely not a Viper. But honestly, people hype Gumayushi. I feel like Pei's is much more stable than Gumayushi, so he doesn't look as amazing. But Gumayushi looks much worse when losing than Pei's looks. Like, Pei's loses very gracefully, where Gumayushi definitely doesn't. And so it's hard to say between those two. I would say that Viper currently is just the best. Viper is that guy. Viper is absolutely that guy from Challengers, right? Because he is just like his baby UZI, right? His mechanics are amazing. Oh, well, the light. I assume this is the light. Of course I don't know. But yeah, well, Pei's had to interrupt his recall there, which will cost him a little bit of momentum here. As of course, this area lane, your goal is to get away with a lot, as much CS as possible, and not get bullied by the Draven. And what you'll find him do, and you can see this already, and I want you to look at it, is that whenever Draven goes for an auto attack, he will move forward to try to get an auto attack in, try to hit that Q. And then the second Draven's auto attack would come back off cooldown, he's like immediately moving back again. Now this is going to be much more difficult in the future once Draven gets a little bit of attack speed. And you can see that he has to be very careful, as Draven will absolutely tear him up. So you definitely want to poke, but you don't want to trade damage. As you can see, it's a lot of damage coming through here from the Draven. Alright, so CSing under turret can be a little bit difficult at times, but very good catch here. Very, very strong trade onto the Draven, as of course the Rel wasn't really able to answer that at all. But once again, Rakan did lose some HP. So Rakan is under constant threat now from the Rel here. You see how we are like max ranging our Q. Of course, something that is a little bit more difficult than with the usual AD carries is to like, you know, stay on that maximum attack range. And he is doing an absolutely great job at it. Now, I want you guys to tell me whether or not you want to see these like early laning phases. Or whether or not there is maybe some potential to just skip through them, you know? Going through them a little bit faster. I think that laning phase is very important to look at. Also, though, of course, people can find it boring to watch it, as of course, like all the fiesta is happening during the mid and late games. But yeah, I think it's I think it is a very important part, but I also recognize that not everyone is like so into League of Legends that you would want to watch that. All right. So 53 CS here. Very slight CS lead. So not too terrible. Has been able to take very good trades versus the Draven. Draven, weirdly enough, not playing super aggressive. And then also like still exposing himself to like dangerous situations. And losing like 1 or 2 trades. Yeah, 2 trades so far. But Draven will be able to grab himself a plating. Which that of course makes up for the lost gold here. As yeah, you can see that the light is just focused on being able to CS all of those minions and get big later on. Stendo Beam gonna zone out the Draven for a little bit here. But yeah, you gotta be careful with Draven. As of course, we see that Peanut not really finding a stride here. Ooh, very good timing. Pays. Will. Ooh. Yeah, the power slide is going to get him far enough away, though, as Draven, of course, not capable of following here. Will activate the Ghost here as well. His slide coming up in 8 seconds, so he's not really going to be able to follow up here. Bit of a weird Ghost, but I'd assume it was expecting a dive here, which ended up not happening, really. So that's good. Generally, of course, in a pro game, you would expect much more pressure onto the bottom lane, which is something that as a... Ooh, there it is. Everyone is grouped up, and the area of effect will hit everyone as Pace will not be able to get out. Rakan actually able to get himself to safety, but Pace will go down. 74, and that was amazing. 74 CS now. He is falling behind, significantly behind the Draven. Draven, of course, able to pick up an early kill and now able to pick up a kill again. And that's just really rough. Very good regank. And honestly, caught him off guard. And he didn't really react quick enough to the rel, but it is, of course, criticism on the highest levels, as it is very difficult to react to these combos. But, you know, still something that is worth to be said. Of course, we are going to go here for the shield bow. Of course, I say because this item is pretty much the item that you want to get on the Zeri. As of course, it helps you... your damage output never is going to be as crazy as, for example, a Jinx's damage output. However, what you don't have in damage output, you have in survivability. But one of the biggest weaknesses of Zeri is things that get on top of her and burst her down before she can start kiting. And so, shield ball makes a lot of sense, of course. Generally, lifesteal is also very good, as here, the Herald is going to be taken down by the blue team. Okay, he's now positioning himself so Peanut can jump over the wall, and now he will be taken down. Yeah, he will. I mean, he ends up going down 100% here. Very good for Draven, as Draven is able to pick up another 2 plates here, I believe. Or at least 1 more plate in the bottom lane. Has the Essence Reaver here together with the Serrated Dirk, where Zeri only has her Berserker Greaves, and that fighting in the mid lane there and not getting the Herald. Very, very rough. No mistake of Pace, I would say. But still a very rough situation to be in. As, I mean, one could say that his mistake was to stay too close to Peanut there to try to help him out, instead of just letting him die and bolting away. Ultimate is going to be popped now. Rakan ready here, but the Draven is going to outplay the Rakan ultimate, and you can't really fight him anymore, as the CC did not hit at the time it was required, and now Draven is able to move in again with the Essence Reaver in hand. Of course, he is still going to do massive damage to the enemy, and yeah, you just have to respect the 3 people now forcing down the turret. Although the turret will not go down. Rel cancelled. Inner dismount. Now the party has arrived. Galio and Peanut are here. Viego will not be able to get out. The Pace will pick him up, and now the fight has been turned on its head by the red team. Absolutely amazing, as Peanut will give his life for this play, but of course 3 people going down, that is absolutely worth it. And you can see the impact here of the Galio. Just such a ridiculous champion if everything comes through and people play around it. just so much roam ability, so much ability to make plays. Very nice. As Rise was not really able to do much there. As of course the Galio had the inside track into that play. Rise a little bit late on the move there. Of course, and so that is good equalizer. Draven going down there doesn't really matter to Draven. He has been able to snowball already quite a bit. So he's not going to be too sad. However, of course, Draven always could use more because team fighting on Draven actually not the easiest. The easier part is the laning phase, and then usually the team fighting can be pretty scary. As, of course, at that point, it's not an AD carry that you can just burst down. Oftentimes, you won't be able to just take down something like the, in this case, Swain, like the Galio, just in a couple of auto attacks. And so, all of a sudden, things are much more scary for you. You don't want to get caught out. Of course, you have limited mobility. As the Gragas here. Gragas definitely not such an issue for Zeri. Gragas very scary for a lot of AD carries. Mainly those like the Jinx, like the Varus though. Like the Jhin, you know, those kind of AD carries. Zeri definitely cares a little bit less about him. As the Zeri not going to be able to follow up here. Gets in there just in time though. Will be able to pick that kill on Rel up. Already getting a good amount of money here for herself, as now the kick will come out, as this Draven will be taking down everything that gets too close though. Takes down the Rakan here. Peanut goes down as well, as Pace will try to bait. Throws himself in there, probably trying to like maybe bait out a quick ability and maybe find a play there, but decides to not risk it. Which is good. As the Rise now will, of course, lay chase, and together with the Gragas, there's not really any chance here for Pace to get out. This is not good play. Like, this is not, you know, this is something that you need to consider. Of course, understandable that you wouldn't, given the fact that you just had that big, scary situation. But still, something that is worth considering is, of course, where is the Rise? Why hasn't he shown up to that fight? Fight would have looked reasonably different with the Rise there. Yeah, this Rise is scary as hell as well, just like the Gragas as well. Draven not really as scary, as he wasn't really able to pick up a lot of kills here. And now actually feels a little bit behind to what he should do. Thank you, Rel, for showing everyone how serious you are. Serious, serious. Rel's a weird champion, man. Rel's a really weird champion. Because, like, she's not a terrible champion. But she just feels so punishing that I think a lot of people just don't like to play her. Let's see if this Herald gets a little bit more value than last one. Last one getting immediately popped here. Of course, now there is a Draven and the Rel together with the Gragas to bolster it. So, yeah, this one's definitely going to get more value already. Let's see if the red team can take it down in time. Yes, we'll be able to take down the Herald here before it sets up for the next charge. As Draven trying to get his adoration back up so he can do a little bit of something here at least. So far. Draven's gonna have a difficult time already, I feel. But still does a lot of damage. Of course. I want to see his damage here to the Zeri. Zeri does have... Actually, Zeri will be going for the Kraken Slayer here instead. Yeah, goes for the Kraken Slayer. Now is working on what seems to be a Blade of the Rune King. Kind of weird build. Weird build, but I respect it. As you're not going to have the survivability here from the shield bow. yeah, can be very difficult, honestly, versus the Draven and the Ryze. Kind of forced damage here from the Ryze, as you can see, right? Just like locks you down, as you will go down here. And that is the blue team just mopping it all up. Taking all the gold. And, you know, vacuuming the rift a little bit. Ay. Rough, man. Yeah, Ryze is just such a powerhouse. You saw how, like, Ryze was targeted by 3 people, didn't take any damage, locked down the Zeri, and just, like, almost full comboed her. Very rough situation. And, of course, Viego able to follow up there. Viego going for the Korean build here of the Kraken Slayer first, which is a build that is very common. Usually is a build that you can kind of tell a Viego one trick apart from a pro player. As pro players still stuck with the good old Viego build that they know that feels okay. Where, you know, the pros, the one tricks seem to be optimizing their builds a little bit more, thinking a little bit about what is the maximum amount of damage. And so Kraken Slayer definitely scales very well. So if you want a defensive game, oftentimes Blade of the Rune King is going to be a little bit difficult. So Kraken Slayer into something like a Black Cleaver, for example, gives you amazing ability to take down tanks. Of course, not really something that... I think in this case, in this game, I would, again, go Blade of the Rune King, because you have a lot of high HP targets that don't have a lot of armor. This build right here, the Kraken Slayer, this is what you go versus a Rammus. This is what you go versus a Malphite. I mean, at least if you look at like the higher ranked Viego mains, they often choose this build versus champions like that, the Malphite, you know, the Rammus, those who stack a lot of armor. And then of course you are able to shred through the armor, plus you have the Kraken Slayer. Damage is not going to be amazing, but you are doing reasonable damage. And you're taking less damage from the Rammus Reflect, right? Which is very important. Viego always a scary champion to have in the game, especially in the jungle position. I always say this because I play Viego mid lane a lot. So definitely a scary champion to have. Just sit around and wait, because if the Viego is able to get something like a Swain here as a reset, it's going to be very difficult to play. Don't want him to get the Lee Sin, don't want him to get any of those in Lee Sin. Very likely to be the champion dropping first. So of course, as Lee Sin in this game, you have to be on point here, because you can just get locked down very quickly by the Ryze and the Rel. So now we see the Runan's Hurricane here for Pays. Doesn't really have a lot of money here in comparison to what he would want to. And the red team is setting a trap here. So far, the trap will not be tripped though. As a little bit of a trappity trip here by the Rakan, who will just miss his ultimate and W. The Ryze now setting up for the turn here, but that is absolutely not what you want to happen. For people like the man, like the lamb to the slaughter, they will be set up right inside of that CC here. As now Pays will be ready here to chase down the Viego, is looking for him and will take him down here. Even diving behind the turret using Flash and Ghost, seizing his moment and trying to get out as much and extract as much of a win out of that play as possible, as he will now take down the entire jungle, bottom side jungle here of the Viego as well. Now moving in to, of course, CS the wave as well, which he probably is going to be waiting for here. Of course, we'll be looking for Bloodthirster here, I would suppose. Although something like an LDR would also not be a bad idea. But yeah, the Bloodthirster coming in now, or the Infinity Edge. It's kind of hard to say, as we are still sitting on that Vampiric Scepter. Question is it worth it to build that into Bloodthirster, or don't you just go for the Infinity Edge here? Infinity Edge, of course, going to give you so much damage here in comparison to Bloodthirster. But then Bloodthirster has that amazing synergy together with the Overheal here. As you see how carefully Pace is playing this, right? Pulling the camp right back into this point of safety there for himself. Not taking any stupid trades here either. Just being very careful, and will be now pulling the trigger at like CSing all the camps. Kind of weird that we didn't see him do that before, but now he's just starting to gobble up as much money as possible, just trying to get to these item breakpoints as quickly as possible. Positions him against the wall. Beautiful catch here by the Viego, as Pace will not really be taking any damage, though, as there is no damage dealer around. Two people go down. Rise over the wall, as the Gragas ultimate is going to separate the AD carry from his support. Support going down. AD carry still full on running, as oh, this is a mistake by Pace here. Yeah, as he will slide into his death. That didn't look too amazing, to be perfectly honest. He is doing a solid job, but that slide was not good. That was not a good. That was like that was a Guma Yushi slide. This is kind of what Guma Yushi does like all day, every day. But of course, if you have a carrier, you look a little bit different than if you have the light on your team, which in this case, I don't think this is the light. The light's a little bit more snappy with this Rakan. The light's Rakan is absolutely beautiful. Much more snappy, much less like floaty. But it is what it is, as we are moving towards that Infinity Edge here. Yeah, which I love to see. I think that is the correct decision here as well, to go for the Infinity Edge. The, you know, Vampiric Scepter is going to help out a little bit with that lifesteal, which isn't too bad, but also... Oh, I didn't realize it's a Hextech Dragon. Rakan, what are you doing? Okay, like, for this, we literally blame the Rakan. Beautiful power slide there, by the way, to safety. But yeah, that is Rakan just griefing it up, as here Pace will be caught out of position, just taken down, locked down by the Rise W, and finished off by the Viego. As Swain will be working on taking down the... Oh my god, he will stay alive just barely, as the Swain keeps healing here. Now, two people in his ultimate once again, as he's just slowly regenerating, and Rel just absolutely griefing by staying inside of that ultimate for so long. But, of course, as the Draven will move in, he just absolutely bursts the Swain out of this life. Probably bursts him as he's, like, reborn. Will probably, like, take out, like, 50% of his HP still. As, of course, Draven does quite a bit of damage at this point. Although, still no LDR. I mean, I'm sure once he recalls, the LDR is going to be available to him here. And that's actually really scary, man. Because Swain does rely on the resistances here quite a bit. The resistance of the Demonic Embrace. So it's going to be very difficult to deal with this Draven, who did cash in a lot of money here. So yeah, not the situation that you are wishing for, as of course Pace could have played a couple of these situations much better than he ended up doing. Weirdly enough, I would say that Gen G actually like played by far the best games in their finals. And well, I would say that T1 played not their worst, but some of their worst matches in the finals. So I don't know how indicative that is. I also don't know that I would call Pace. Dude, it's so difficult because you have Viper, you have Guma Yushi, and you have DEFT. And then Pace is really good, but is he a DEFT? I'm not sure. He's definitely not a Viper. I mean, he's definitely not a DEFT or a Viper. Is he a Guma Yushi? Maybe. Maybe he's on a level with Guma. Maybe. It's hard to say. Because, like, with Guma, I always struggle a little bit with Guma because he looks absolutely amazing. But you also have to consider that he's playing with frickin' Keria. And he's playing on a team that is just has so much fear factor attached to it. And he's playing aggressive, which means that you are going to be much, much more scared of a player that, like, plays a little bit bad. Oh, beautiful catch here by the Rel, as currently no one is able to follow up so far, though. Pace is going to stand his ground so far, finds a lot of damage here, will go down to 50 HP. If Ryze touches you for a second, you are going down, as he will kite out the Ryze for now, but Ryze will be able to find that kill, as he will offer himself as a trade, but blood has been drawn. 4 people down here by the red team, and that means that the blue team here is now smelling blood in the water. They are going for the throat, and they will find the surrender here on the enemy team, as this is the GG that we've all been dreading. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one, and stay awesome.